Your quality system is your operational foundation. It guides how work is done, how decisions are made, and how your business scales effectively. When aligned with your strategy and stage of growth, it can reduce risk, support compliance, and create consistency without unnecessary complexity. In this video, we'll walk through how to design and implement a practical quality system, one that fits your business now and can grow as the business grows. A quality system is more than a compliance framework. It is a foundational business model that shapes how your company operates and scales. When well-designed, it delivers measurable value by aligning your operations with strategic goals, enabling efficient execution, and reinforcing trust across critical partnerships. It starts by connecting strategy to execution, ensuring alignment between business priorities and how the work is done. It drives efficiency, consistency, and accountability across teams and functions. It enables informed decision-making using reliable, traceable data. It cultivates smart quality, where issues are identified early, lessons are applied, and the company becomes more efficient over time. It supports scalable growth by building systems that evolve with your business. And it strengthens reputation and trust with regulators, partners, and external stakeholders by embedding integrity into every process. Taken together, these elements reduce errors, minimize rework, improve data integrity, and enable faster, smarter decisions, all of which contribute to stronger execution and long-term business performance. To illustrate what can happen in the absence of these systems, during due diligence with a potential partner, a company was asked about the meaning of an internal signature on a report. There was no SOP defining the sign-off process, and the employee who signed it was no longer with the organization. Even if the work had been reviewed properly, there was no way to prove it. That uncertainty raised concerns about data integrity, and the deal ultimately fell through. These are the types of risks that effective quality systems are designed to prevent. In the slides that follow, we'll walk through practical steps to build or strengthen your quality system in a way that fits your business and sets the foundation for long-term business success. A quality system should be built in alignment with your business objectives, strategic direction, and key stakeholders. Start by understanding where the company is headed, whether that's licensing, building a fully integrated organization, acquisition, commercialization, or long-term growth. The system you build should support that path. Your quality system should be scaled to match your business goals and long-term vision. If your goal is to develop a product through early stages and partner or license it, your system needs to demonstrate traceability, data integrity, and readiness for due diligence. If you intend to become a fully integrated organization, you'll need broader infrastructure, including systems for commercial operations, supply chain oversight, and ongoing compliance. In all cases, the system should be designed to accommodate growth and evolve to support operations. Identify your customers and what they expect, whether they are patients, partners, regulators, or operational teams. Understanding what each group needs from your product or process helps determine where structure adds the most value. Engage internal stakeholders who are closest to the work. Their insight into daily operations, risks, and decision points is essential to designing a system that supports execution, not just oversight. When deciding which processes to formalize early, prioritize those with the highest risk or greatest operational benefit when performed consistently. These are the areas where initial SOPs will have the most impact. Assess applicable regulatory requirements early to avoid downstream gaps. Requirements may differ by region, product type, or market strategy. Overlooking requirements can lead to rework, delays, or missed opportunities. Try to anticipate the company's needs and build accordingly. Evaluate operational and compliance risks from the outset. Identify where variability, uncertainty, or lack of controls could compromise quality, and prioritize controls that mitigate those risks as your system takes shape. Build your system so it is easy to scale, supporting products through development, regulatory submission, and commercialization without needing to reinvent the framework at every stage. While the previous example demonstrated what happens when there is a gap in the quality system, this example highlights the issues when there are significant gaps or a quality system is absent. In this case, a company conducting a clinical trial entered study data into a general-purpose relational database that lacked the controls required for regulated research. The system had not been validated, the company had no data management SOPs, and data entry was performed by someone who hadn't demonstrated competency in their clinical data management role. Instead of verbatim field-to-field transcription from the paper case report forms to the database, data were randomly entered in a variety of different fields using alternate wording. This made it difficult to confirm whether the database output accurately reflected the original records. When the trial was later submitted as part of a marketing application, the absence of foundational data integrity controls triggered significant regulatory scrutiny. A standard audit would have shown an error rate exceeding 50%, so a modified approach had to be developed just to evaluate whether the data were interpretable and whether patient safety information had been appropriately captured. Ultimately, the company received approval, but only after a time-consuming and costly remediation effort. This case highlights a broader lesson. Even early-stage studies can carry long-term implications. Without basic quality systems in place, companies risk delayed approvals, lost credibility, and expensive cleanup. Your quality system should be tailored to the company's current stage and future goals. Start by defining your quality policy, the foundation that sets the tone for quality expectations, mindset, and organizational commitment. Next, draft a fit-for-purpose quality manual that outlines the structure and approach of the quality system. This high-level document describes how the system functions, the applicable regulations, the operational model, and key roles and responsibilities. In early-stage companies with limited resources, the quality manual can incorporate key policy elements, providing a unified framework to guide SOPs without requiring standalone policies immediately. Then develop initial policies focusing on high-risk, regulated, and business-critical areas. These policies define your company's standards and expectations and serve as anchors to decision-making. From there, create initial SOPs to formalize key processes based on business maturity and compliance needs. Prioritize areas where consistency is critical and structure reduces operational or compliance risk. By aligning your quality system with business context, you create a system that is practical and scalable, supporting the business as it grows. Each step builds on the last. When sequenced with intention, you create a system that's right-sized, right-timed, and aligned with business needs without over-engineering or leaving critical gaps. This alignment is especially important if you plan to license, partner, or rely on external collaborations. Increasingly, larger companies are requiring formal quality systems as a condition of partnership. In one case, a company was prepared to provide commercial drug for a clinical trial, but only if the sponsor held ISO 9001 certification. This is a means for the company to reduce its risks, starting with a framework that aligns with recognized standards like ISO 9001 can make formal certification and due diligence readiness much easier down the road. It's another reason why building with context in mind can have long-term strategic value. As mentioned in the previous slide, the quality policy defines the company's overarching commitment to quality. It sets expectations, values, and priorities at the highest level and is typically approved at the executive level. While some companies choose to maintain the quality policy as a standalone document, it is often embedded in the quality manual for simplicity. The quality manual sits at the top of the quality system hierarchy. It describes how the quality system is organized and governed, the applicable regulations and standards, and the operational scope. Because it frames how the company approaches quality, it must align with business strategy and is typically approved at the executive level. Policies are next in the hierarchy. Developed by senior functional leaders, policies interpret applicable requirements and define the company's internal standards in high-risk, regulated, or business-critical areas. They serve as the bridge between external expectations and internal operations. Standard operating procedures, or SOPs, are developed by process owners to describe how work is performed consistently and in alignment with policies. SOPs function best when policies are already in place, enabling procedures to describe processes that reflect intentional business decisions. At the base of the pyramid are supporting tools, work instructions, templates, guidelines, etc. Work instructions are rarely needed in small companies unless tasks are complex, rarely performed, or performed by many people, which is often seen as the company grows. Templates, on the other hand, are extremely useful from the start, particularly for complex documents like protocols, where standard language and structure save time and reduce errors. Guidelines and other tools may be added over time to support consistency and efficiency as the system matures. Finally, corporate governance typically sits outside the quality system. It directly influences it. Board oversight, executive controls, and business management structures set risk tolerance, accountability, and strategic direction. When governance and quality are aligned, the organization moves cohesively. Governance documents may also be controlled within the quality system if appropriate. Borrowed or off-the-shelf SOPs may appear to save time, but they often fail to reflect how your company actually operates. Documents lifted from other organizations or purchased from vendors are usually written around a different business model, infrastructure, and set of priorities. As a result, they introduce misalignment, create confusion, and fail to support actual workflows or responsibilities. A separate but common issue is SOPs that merge policy and process into a single document. Purchased SOPs frequently follow this model, embedding high-level standards and strategic decisions directly into operational instructions. This creates a governance gap, particularly during revision, when policy language is unknowingly changed or removed by those responsible for maintaining day-to-day procedures. Without clear separation and oversight, conflicting or inconsistent expectations emerge across the system, weakening both compliance and accountability. In addition, off-the-shelf SOPs are often designed for broad applicability and are typically geared toward larger, more mature companies. When applied in smaller or earlier stage organizations, they can introduce excessive complexity, unnecessary documentation, and rigid structures that don't match actual needs. Also, depending on their source, they may not adequately cover the high-risk areas that are critical early on. Although off-the-shelf SOPs can be used as a starting point, it is important to understand their limitations, including lack of organizational and regulatory context. Critically, these approaches don't lay the foundation needed to support future growth. A system built without clear hierarchy and not customized to the business is likely to fail. As the company matures, the system will need to be rebuilt from scratch, adding cost, creating disruption, and potentially undermining trust in the quality system itself. A better approach is to start small, with custom, fit-for-purpose documents that match your business strategy and risk. This creates a strong, scalable foundation that supports growth without over-engineering, costly rework, or worse, regulatory impact, such as loss of data integrity. These core elements form the operational foundation of every quality system, and more importantly, they add value to the business. Document control ensures that policies, procedures, and records are current, accessible, and traceable. This reduces errors, improves efficiency, and supports inspection readiness. Deviations and corrective and preventive actions, or CAPA, provide a structured way to identify and respond to problems. More than just compliance tools, they formalize how the company evaluates issues, learns from mistakes, drives improvements, and increases operational reliability over time. Change control ensures that updates to processes, documents, or systems are assessed for risk and implemented in a controlled manner. This reduces business disruption and avoids unintended consequences. Vendor oversight ensures that outsourced services meet your quality standards and regulatory requirements. A vendor's quality system is considered an extension of the company's, so oversight and monitoring are critical. Vendor quality management mitigates supply chain risk and protects product integrity. Audits, both internal and external, offer insight into how the quality system is performing. They assess risk, identify weaknesses early, and provide a basis for continuous improvement. Inspection readiness is achieved by maintaining a state of control, with clear traceability and well-documented processes. This reduces the risk of surprises and builds confidence with regulators and partners. Training builds executional strength. Effective training programs increase employee capability and confidence, improve consistency, and reduce errors, directly contributing to business efficiency and performance. Risk management isn't just a process, it's a mindset. It should be embedded into every policy and SOP. A risk-based approach helps prioritize resources, focus attention, and balance compliance with business agility. These system elements are strategic tools that help the company operate smarter, scale faster, and stay inspection ready. Clear, concise writing is essential to building a quality system. Each word should be intentional, avoiding unnecessary detail while preserving meaning. Direct, simple language reduces confusion and errors, supports consistent execution, and increases compliance. Use plain language that mirrors how the work is actually performed. Use must for requirements. Use may for optional actions. And avoid ambiguous words like should that can create confusion. Shall is also falling out of favor because it sometimes is misinterpreted as should. Document type also matters. Policies define what needs to be done, why it matters, and who is responsible when tied to regulatory or strategic expectations. Policies define the what and why, as well as high-level responsibilities. SOPs describe the process, or how, and who is responsible. SOPs also identify the records generated. Records provide evidence that the process was followed and tasks were completed. To ensure usability, format documents with clear headings, use bullets for lists, and use action-oriented language that identifies the person responsible and provides clear information about the task to be completed. Link documents together to support traceability and reduce duplication. Well-written quality system documents avoid confusion, enable consistency, and set clear expectations. Writing is a skill that improves with feedback and practice. Review can ensure that what is written is understood not just by the author, but by the people who will be using it. Clearly written policies and SOPs minimize errors, decrease compliance risk, improve employee confidence, and increase efficiency. Effective policies begin by identifying where clear standards are essential, usually in areas with regulatory impact, elevated risk, or business-critical operations. Policies translate external expectations into internal direction to guide teams, enhance alignment, and maintain compliance. Policies should be based on a strong understanding of relevant regulations, product development stage, business priorities, risk tolerance, and operational realities. The goal is to define what must be done and under what circumstances without being so specific it becomes too rigid or disconnected from the actual work. Flexibility is often mistaken for ambiguity. Vague policies can create confusion, reduce efficiency, and introduce compliance risks, especially when regulatory text is copied word for word without explanation. For example, a policy that states training should be completed promptly doesn't provide enough information for someone to meet the requirement, since this is subjective, increasing the risk for inconsistent practices and potential inspection findings. A more compliant approach would be, training must be completed within 30 days. A more flexible but still compliant option might be, training must be completed prior to performing the activity. This provides room for just-in-time training while still managing the core risk. Policies should also include references to applicable regulations and link to related SOPs. This makes it easier to evaluate whether regulatory updates require changes to internal standards. When done well, policies reduce ambiguity, streamline decision-making, and provide a consistent foundation for how the company operates. Well-written policies increase efficiency, reduce risk, and support growth. Rate policies balance clarity and adaptability, providing enough structure to support compliance while remaining flexible enough to evolve with the business. Clustering policies is a practical way to manage quality oversight without overwhelming the system early on. While the quality manual may define the need for specific categories like deviations, CAPAs, and change control, you don't need to create separate policies. Instead, related topics can be grouped under broader policy categories such as quality events or manufacturing quality oversight. For example, in early-stage manufacturing, one policy might include specification management, reference standard control, master label approval, and batch disposition. These functions are all linked to product quality and often handled by the same person or team. Clustering them into a single policy reflects real operational ownership and avoids unnecessary fragmentation. To keep these clusters usable, structure the policy with internal sections and clear headings for each subtopic. This not only improves day-to-day usability, it makes it much easier to split out individual policies later as the organization grows or responsibilities shift. In general, aim to keep policies concise, around 3 pages or fewer, so information remains accessible and easy to manage. Clustering supports efficiency in the short term, while laying a solid foundation for scalable, organized growth. Process mapping turns complexity into clarity. It's more than just documenting steps. It's about creating a shared understanding of how work gets done. We use process maps to develop SOPs and often include them as appendices, giving teams a visual reference that's easier to understand, especially for complex workflows or visual learners. They show the big picture before diving into step-by-step instructions, improving both comprehension and consistency. We start by clarifying the actual process. That means aligning policies and real-world practices into a usable structure. If the process meets regulatory requirements, there's no need to over-engineer it. But if there are gaps, we refine it. The map should reflect how work is actually performed, not how we wish it were. Next, define the inputs, outputs, and tools. What triggers the process? What information or systems are required? What's the end product, and where does it go? These connections ensure the process is workable and supports efficient handoffs between teams. From there, assign clear roles and actions. Each step needs an owner and a defined task. This builds accountability and highlights where resources may be lacking or duplicated. Ensure logical sequence and flow. The process should move in a clear, organized way. Avoid endless loops or overly broad steps. A good process can be started and completed. It should have a beginning, a defined end, and a reasonable time frame for completion. Finally, create the visual diagram. Use standardized symbols to map each step, decision point, and dependency. This becomes the visual blueprint that informs your SOPs, supports training, and enables cross-functional alignment. Process maps don't just clarify, they build shared ownership, reveal opportunities for improvement, and ensure your systems are both compliant and usable. SOPs are the operational backbone of a quality system. They define how work gets done, clearly outlining responsibilities, required actions, and expected outcomes. Each SOP should align with existing policies and be derived directly from a process map, ensuring consistency between the visual flow and written procedure. Why a process is being performed belongs in the policy, not the SOP. The goal is to document what is done, who does it, when the process is initiated, what is needed to complete the process, and what evidence must be produced. SOPs must reflect actual operations, not theoretical workflows. They should formalize existing business processes as closely as possible, considering the business requirements, provided the process is efficient. This means that who is responsible for each step in the process and what they are responsible for must be defined. When well done, SOPs promote clarity, consistency, and accountability. Studies have shown that when expectations are clear, employee satisfaction increases. Ideally, SOPs also generate meaningful outputs, both records and data that monitor business performance. Not every process needs detailed metrics, but tracking just one or two critical workflows can uncover the root causes of operational issues and improve efficiency. For example, in early-stage drug development, it's common to run into delays releasing clinical trial material. If the SOP clearly maps the process steps and responsibilities, you can start measuring the time each step takes and identify what's driving the delay. That gives you a path forward. When pulling together a process, always think about ways to mitigate risk. For some processes, some risk may be acceptable. However, there may be simple ways to evaluate and mitigate risk. It is important to balance risk with the impact of implementing risk controls. This highlights the importance of alignment with business goals and how this impacts operations. SOPs can also include built-in performance indicators. These don't have to be complex, but they should give management a way to see whether a process is functioning as intended. For example, in a deviation process, tracking recurrence of the same root cause may indicate that corrective actions aren't effective or that systemic issues are being missed. That information feeds directly back into the system, helping to strengthen processes, prevent future deviations, and reduce the need for repeated investigations and remediation. The result is improved efficiency and better use of staff time. Where appropriate, the data from SOPs should roll up into metrics and KPIs that feed directly into management review, supporting quality decisions and continuous improvement. This is often overlooked early in system development. But even a few well-designed SOPs can drive real business value when used strategically. In the startup phase, typically preclinical through phase 1, the system should be lean but strong. A basic quality manual should outline key expectations. Policies should focus on high-risk areas like GMP manufacturing, document control, data integrity, and vendor oversight. Vendor management is critical, even at this stage, especially when relying on external labs or CDMOs. Risk management is already important and should be embedded early, even if it's informal. In phase 1, companies may lean on vendor systems, but that doesn't replace the need for sponsor oversight. Clear quality agreements must define roles and responsibilities and reinforce shared accountability. You can demonstrate phase-appropriate controls with relatively few quality documents. As the company enters mid-stage development, phase 2 to 3, the system needs to mature. Policy and SOP coverage should expand, particularly around areas like vendor qualification, change control systems, data integrity, and risk management. As the team grows, work instructions help ensure consistency across functions. While the system evolves, It must stay aligned with regulatory expectations, especially as manufacturing activity scales up in preparation for commercial readiness. By the commercial stage, a fully developed quality manual is required. Comprehensive policies and SOPs must cover all operational areas: manufacturing, quality, clinical, regulatory, and commercial supply chain. For pharmaceuticals, Phase 3 studies must use manufacturing processes representative of commercial production. Even if process validation is not yet complete, any significant deviation between clinical and commercial processes must be evaluated for risk and submitted appropriately to regulators. That linkage is critical to avoid approval delays or regulatory rejection. Throughout all stages, the system must stay coherent. The quality manual is a dynamic document, and any updates must filter down to the policy and operational level. Scaling with intention ensures the system grows with the business, reinforces compliance, and supports successful regulatory submissions. Culture shapes how quality lives in an organization. It's not built through slogans or inspections. It's embedded through daily actions and decisions. That starts at the top. When leaders model transparency, accountability, and ethical behavior, they set a tone that reinforces quality as a core value, not a checkbox. Next, systems must be designed to help people succeed. That means clear SOPs, practical tools, relevant training, and reasonable timelines. People can't deliver quality outcomes if they're set up to fail. Equally important is setting expectations that are both clear and achievable. When expectations are unrealistic or procedures are ambiguous, people default to workarounds. Those shortcuts lead to error, not compliance. When problems arise, the focus should be on understanding the process, not assigning blame. Jumping to conclusions about individual error can damage morale, reduce transparency, and make it harder for teams to raise concerns. Real improvement comes from analyzing how and why the issue occurred, identifying where the process fell short, and making targeted changes. That's how quality systems become smarter and more resilient over time. Ultimately, quality only scales when it's seen as a shared responsibility. That means building feedback loops into operations, listening to teams, and developing systems that reflect how work is really done. When people see quality as something that supports them, not polices them, they'll engage more openly, raise issues earlier, and help drive sustainable improvement. When choosing a quality system platform, start by assessing the size of your business, anticipated growth, available resources, and both your current and future compliance needs. Today's electronic quality management systems, or EQMS, are more accessible than ever. Competitive pricing and a growing number of vendors focused on small companies mean you no longer need to be a global corporation to afford a digital system. Compared to paper systems, EQMS platforms reduce manual workload, support faster access to information, automate tasks like training and audit tracking, and help maintain complete, time-stamped audit trails. From a compliance standpoint, they offer stronger support for inspection readiness, data integrity, and consistency across the board. Paper systems, by contrast, come with a lower upfront software cost, but require significantly more staff time and oversight. They're prone to errors, less efficient, and much harder to scale as operations expand. The ongoing workload to maintain paper-based compliance, filing, retrieving, updating, and reviewing documents can drain valuable resources and increase the risk of non-compliance. That said, not all electronic systems are created equal. Some of the most well-known platforms were built for large enterprises and come with extensive configuration needs that can overwhelm smaller companies. These systems often require significant administrative support, ongoing customization, and staff training, especially if you're using a basic or stripped-down version that lacks user-friendly functionality. The gold standard in one environment may not be the best fit in another. A bloated system can become a burden rather than a benefit. So rather than choosing based on reputation alone, conduct a thoughtful comparison of multiple systems, both enterprise-grade and right-sized solutions, to identify what best meets your organization's actual user needs, risk profile, and business model. The right system is one that supports your goals now, with the flexibility to grow as your business matures. Choosing a scalable, appropriately sized electronic system early on can reduce long-term costs, limit compliance risk, and provide the operational backbone needed to support future success. Quality leaders must do more than manage systems. They must drive meaningful change. Acting as a change agent means identifying where improvements are needed, building alignment, and guiding teams through change. It requires listening, simplifying complexity, and creating practical solutions that help people succeed in a dynamic environment. Supporting cross-functional priorities means understanding that quality must serve the broader business, not just the quality function. Every department has projects competing for time, money, and resources. It's essential to step back and ask, which initiatives drive the company's top priorities? Prioritizing those, even when it means adjusting your own plans, demonstrates leadership, earns respect, and reinforces that quality is here to help the company succeed. Maintaining that perspective, without taking trade-offs personally, models the adaptability and maturity expected from a strategic partner. As strategy evolves, so must the system. Processes that worked for 10 people may not support commercial growth. A quality manual written at startup may not reflect new risk profiles or business models. Revisiting your quality framework regularly, especially at the policy level, ensures ongoing relevance and alignment. That flexibility prevents stagnation and supports long-term scalability. Ultimately, trust is built through collaboration. When the quality team is seen as a resource, one that listens, supports, and adds value, people are more likely to engage. They ask questions, raise concerns, and share responsibility. In that environment, quality becomes integrated into how work gets done, not just a department, but a culture. A well-designed quality system doesn't just ensure compliance, it delivers real business value. First, it protects patient safety and data integrity, forming the backbone of trust for regulators, partners, and patients. Without it, the risks to product reliability and reputation are significant. It also helps reduce risk and ensure compliance by embedding clear expectations, structured reviews, and audit-ready documentation across the organization. This lowers the likelihood of costly errors, rework, or regulatory action. Quality systems enable consistent operations by standardizing how tasks are performed, recorded, and reviewed, leading to fewer deviations and smoother execution across teams. They also generate insights for improvement. Whether it's through deviations, CAPAs, or change control, the system should provide meaningful data that identifies trends, uncovers inefficiencies, and drives continuous improvement. Crucially, a scalable system will support faster, smarter decisions by enabling access to timely, accurate information. This allows leaders to make informed, risk-based choices that move the business forward. And finally, strong systems build trust with stakeholders. Whether it's regulators, investors, or internal teams, visible, well-functioning quality processes demonstrate operational maturity, integrity, and long-term viability. When quality systems are designed with purpose, they do more than meet requirements. They support efficient operations, protect patient safety and data integrity, and provide the clarity and insight needed to lead with confidence. This foundation strengthens the business and enables sustainable, scalable growth. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful and would like to view future content on similar subjects, please like and subscribe. This video was sponsored by J. Brooks Consulting, LLC.